Thank you for coming. Everything you said is just prompting a whole bunch more questions. My question is, what are your thoughts on black crime in our community and having accountability starting with us, actually? What are your thoughts on
Black on black crime? Mm-hmm. 3 triggers for black on black crime: miseducation, economic castration, and self-alienation coming from slavery. You have to address all 3. You can't address just one. Number 1, black men, the job of a man is to provide and to protect. Black men are put in a position in this society where we are economically castrated, not allowed to provide. That makes one angry. That makes you resentful. That makes you vengeful. That makes you rageful. That's the trigger for the violence. When a man cannot function as a man, he becomes very, very despondent. And then you add to the miseducation, the economic castration, the fact that there's no economic opportunity for black men out here at all. Half the black men in America are unemployed and have been since 1985. And it has never been addressed. Now, when a white man's unemployment level hit 10%, he has a seizure. Okay? Black man unemployment level been at 50% for over 30 years. And nothing's been done to deal with it. You understand? So to understand the black male, to understand his anger, you have to understand his economic castration and his inability to be given an opportunity to provide for his children and provide for his woman. Then you have to deal with the self-hate. The only thing black people love more than entertainment is hating one another. And this is the Achilles heel in the room. It's always the gigantic elephant, even within the conscious community. In fact, I think there's more hate in the conscious community than outside of it. Okay? The jealousy, the animosity, the intense competition. This is where it comes from. African people identify on the level of the individual, not on the level of community. So it makes it hard for us to want for our brothers and sisters what we want for ourselves because we don't identify as a group. We identify as individuals. For example, if a Chinese walk in a room, Chinese people have a collective consciousness. They may not know each other, but there's certain things they can assume about one another because of the collective consciousness of Chinese people. Same thing for Jews, Arabs, Koreans, East Indians. Everyone has a collective cultural consciousness. Okay? They identify at the level of group. This doesn't mean that there's not competition, but it means the competition has rules to it, so it can never hinder the collective progress of the entire group. Black people don't have that. When you walk into a room with other black people, you can't assume that they're proud to be black. You can't assume that they identify as African. You can't assume that they believe in God. You can't assume that they care about you. You can't assume nothing. You have to learn every African as an individual because we operate at the level of individualism. There is no collective group spirit amongst us. Okay? This includes the conscious community too, who has ideological tribalism and intellectual masturbation as their culture. You understand? So in the conscious community, we fight all day over beliefs. We never fight over strategy and how to get anything built. You understand? So all we did was we substituted traditional African tribalism for contemporary ideological conflict and tribalism. You see, so all these ideologies that we have, they're not bringing us closer together. They're serving to keep us further apart. You see, so you have to address the self-hate. One of the reasons why I want my school to be residential is I see the need to separate the children from the parents. Yes, the parents are the incubators of the self-hate. The Willie Lynch chip is passed down intergenerationally by the way we raise our children in the schools. First grade children are already calling each other ugly, black, nappy-headed. Your sneakers are cheap. How do you know that at 6 years old? Because you grew up in a house where the parents competed with each other and talked about the next door neighbors. So I do not foresee any solution to the Negro problem until we separate the Negro child from the Negro parent so we can resurrect that child into an African. You got to take them away. You got to take them away. Because if I give the child 8 hours of African-centered instruction, and then they go home for 16 hours of Willie Lynch, you understand? The self-hate is beating me out no matter how strong my academic program is. You got to take them away. You got to separate the child from the parent and remake them. That's the only way you're going to get this done right. Extreme circumstances require extreme strategies, which is why, for me, I got to separate in order to rehabilitate.
Can I just add a quick
Sure.
follow-up on that dress code with the sagging pants and all this whole thing that our community seems to, I wouldn't say we started, well, we may have started it, but, and I'm not positive about that, but we seem to be okay with it. And we don't even stop our young men from dressing with sagging pants, and now the young ladies, of course, you know, dresses moving higher and higher up the leg. Or no consciousness of knowing when you might want to wear your sagging pants and when you might not, and the dresses, you know, being a moderate level and being okay for maybe another environment. We don't seem to even have a control dial for that anymore.
For me, it's not so much about the sagging pants, but the circumstances that give rise to it. We always have to be careful about focusing on the symptoms and not the causes. His pants are not sagging for a reason. And they're sagging because he don't have a job. They're sagging because he don't have self-respect. They're sagging because he glamorized prison culture more than any other type of culture because it's the only thing open to him. White boys' pants will sag too if they had the same situations facing them as black males. I think if we address the causes of the sagging pants, we eliminate it. For example, black teenagers have the most difficult job in America of finding employment. Give him a job, and that boss dictates the dress code, those pants will come up in 5 minutes. Because he would rather have money in his pocket than his pants sagging. So we got to look at the circumstances. Why are the pants sagging in the first place? And it's because that there's no opportunity for our young people. Give him a reason to pull them up, and they will come up. I know this because I used to run a summer employment program for Black and Latino youth in Philadelphia. And I learned something from them. I didn't realize how many of them, even the materialistic teens, would be willing to work for minimum wage if somebody gave them a decent opportunity at a respectable job. When the day started for them to start signing up for the jobs, that line was down the street and around the corner. And I heard, because we was only budgeted for maybe 150 children, there was about 300 who came in there looking for jobs. And I couldn't believe it because the job was minimum wage. It was minimum wage. And it hurt because I had to turn so many of them away and say, look, Mr. Johnson, I just want a job. I don't want to sell drugs. I don't want to be on the corner. Give me something positive to do. I think sometimes we exaggerate the ridiculousness of the youth. I think we can bring them back in one day if we just give them opportunity. See, we keep talking about them as if they don't come from us.
Right.
They fell from us. They became that way because we let them. And I don't mean individual parents, because for me the parents are not the last level of accountability. The community is the last level of accountability. And I'm getting tired of single black mothers being blamed for everything wrong in the community. Well, if his mother just did this, if his mother just did that, she cannot be be-all and end-all. She cannot pay the bills and raise the children and be his father as well. Why do we put so much on a single black mother? Why we don't put nothing on the church? We don't put nothing on the politician. We don't put nothing on all these happy to be Hotep and black community organizations. You understand? We don't put nothing on the black business. So we got all these institutions in our community who ain't doing nothing for our young people. But instead of holding them accountable, we'll go to the mother and say, Mom, she's the weakest link in the chain. But we'll go to her and blame her for everything that's wrong. So for me, it's never the parents, it's the community. The community is the be-all and end-all. If we want the parents to do better, the communities have to support the parents more, and I don't see enough of that going on. I see very little inroads being made to support our parents, especially our single parents, be they grandparents, dads, or moms, aunts, uncles, big brothers, or big sisters. But I think if we give them a reason to pull the pants up, the pants will come up. We got to be clear. White society does not object to sagging pants. They do not object to hip-hop. They do not object to our children speaking Ebonics. What they object to is the existence of the black child, period. So it doesn't matter if your pants are up, suit and tie, standard English, you can still end up like Trayvon or Michael. So we got to recognize that it's not anything that they're doing that's bringing this type of heat. It's who they are. It is being African that is the cause of all the hell that we catch. And that's important to say because you get a lot of Negroes, especially higher education bourgeois, who will try to blame it on poverty. See, the reason the government loves to say black people's issue ain't about race, black people's issue is about poverty, because poverty is correctable. You can get an education, get a good job, and you can earn your way out of poverty. You can move your way out of poverty. You understand? But if you suffer what you suffer because of your skin that you are in, you cannot change your skin. So the government would rather focus on poverty, because if you look at it from a poverty perspective, there's hope. All you have to do is help people move from poverty to working class. But if you suffer what you suffer because you are black and you cannot change your Africanity, then racism remains as long as the white man exists. Who's my three? Queen Mother. Did we meet before, Queen Mother?
Huh?
Did we meet before?
No.
You look familiar, okay.
Well, I look like that mentioned earlier. Yes, we're not gonna have some advice, but the older I get, the more I'm more observative of the younger generation. And I see a lot of mental illness.
Yes.
I see a lot of it. You can just look at it and see, you know, the older you get, the more observant you get. You know, that people don't even have to say anything, just their body language, the way they look in their eyes, the way they walk, and you can see it. And I know that it's not just they're born with a chemical imbalance, and it has to be society. It has to be something that's going on in their life or their surrounding that's causing it. You know, that maybe they not necessarily need medication for, but I see a lot of it. I see a lot of it more in the young black men than I do the women, the young girls. But I see it, you know, and it's a lot. And I wonder, you know, it has to be society. It can't be a chemical that's a balance that they were born with. It had to be something that triggered that, you know? But I see a lot of it. I see a lot of it in the community. Not just in our children, I see it in the Latinos too. But I just, because I observe the black race, black people more of African descent, I see it, you know, and it's like, you know, there's so much of it. Where's it coming from?
All mental illness grows out of community context. Our children, like every other child in America, but of course we're talking about us, our children live in an unhealthy society. So why would they have a healthy psyche? Nothing about this society is normal. Nothing. Okay? We're addicted to pleasure. We're addicted to technology. We do not get along with anyone. In fact, the more technology we get, the more crime we get. You understand? Because technology serves to keep people apart. Take social network. That is a big threat to the unity of the black community. Why? Because now I don't have to come here and talk to you and have a conversation. I can simply talk to you through Twitter, Instagram, or WhatsApp. And because I don't have to see you to your face, I can disrespect you intensely because there's nobody there to see who I really am or what I'm really doing. So to me, social network, although there's a benefit of being able to spread the word, you understand? So like when I have an event, social network is a blessing because I can get that information out to millions of people and not pay a penny. But on the relationship side of African culture, social network is destroying us. I see nothing but negativity. I look at the uploads. Every other upload is something negative or critical. You know, it's all it is. It's almost like a medium to express your self-hatred towards other African people. That's what Facebook and Instagram is. You understand? You know, and Dr. King talked about that. Dr. King predicted that technology would actually end up hurting black people because it will become a substitute for face-to-face real-life relationships. Now we're communicating. Take, for example, the study group. The black study group movement was destroyed by YouTube. 30 years ago, we would come to a space like this and we would study, we would talk, we would have a conversation.
That's right.
Where the study groups at? You can hardly find a black study group in America. YouTube destroyed it. Because people said, I don't have to go to the meetings no more. I can just watch him. I want to see Dr. Umar, I can watch him on TV. You understand?
Yeah.
So now everything is done in your house. You cannot organize black people if everybody stays in their house.
Right.
You understand? Even with organization, we want to do everything by social network. People will send an email out, and if nobody shows up to the event, they get upset. But you didn't put no effort into getting people out. All you did was send out an email. That don't take no effort. So why should they take an effort to coming out? You see, notice the Jehovah's Witnesses. Jehovah's Witnesses do not organize on Facebook. They do not organize on Twitter. They do not organize on Instagram. They still organize the way they always organize, and that is face-to-face, door-to-door, in the streets. Black people have to get back to that. We've gotten very, very lazy, and we want to use social media to do everything. No. You have to get up in black people's faces so they can feel you and know you and understand you. Once you have them, you can probably use social media. But first contact should not be social media. It needs to be a face-to-face communication. You see? So we don't live in a healthy society. Half of our families divorced. Half our kids never been in a home with a mother and a father, even if it was not theirs. You understand? So when you look at every index of mental suffering, black people suffering like crazy. But guess what? I still don't feel comfortable sending you to a white therapist. Right. Even a black therapist in many cases. Why? Because they only push you one thing for black people, medication. That's the whole therapy for black folks. You know why? Because white folks don't care enough about you to help you with traditional talk therapy. You understand? What I want to talk to you for? I'm a white male. I can't stand you people. I wish you all died or disappeared. And you come to me for 1 hour a week so I can help you work through your depression. I don't give a damn about you or your depression. I'll tell you what I do. I write you a prescription for Prozac. You understand? So the medication becomes a form of mental health neglect. They don't want to work with us, so they simply medicate everybody, and the medication causes more problems. Mess with your heart, your kidney, your liver, can induce diabetes, schizophrenia, tic disorders. In boys, it can affect their ability to have children later on in life. So the medicine creates more problems than it solves. So when black people say, I want to get a therapist, I'm a little concerned about that. Hopefully I can find you a black therapist, but if I can't, going to white people, you're going to end up on a prescription. Or, if you tell too much of your personal business, the therapist, being a mandated reporter, reports you to Child Protective Services, and now you went to this white person to get some help with your crack addiction, and you didn't divulge some of your personal experiences. They report you to the city. Now the city taking your children. So you went to get some therapy, now your family got broken up. So black people have a genuine, understandable, and legitimate mistrust of the mental health system. So if we do not trust the established mental health system, we're going to have to create healing centers for ourselves. We're going to have to create healing centers for ourselves. You understand? That are non-denominational, non-religious, and non-ideological. Because I'm going to tell you one of the biggest problems we have as a people. If a black man has an issue that he wants to talk to other black men about, he just wants to get some brotherly advice. Where can he go to get some brotherly advice without somebody trying to force him to believe a religion, trying to force him to believe an ideology, or without trying to get some money out of his pocket? Where can a black man go to just be around the other black men for support? Where can a black woman go? You understand? You go to the church, they want to make you a Christian. Go to the mosque, they want to make you a Muslim. Go to the conscious movement, they want to make you a nationalist, a Hebrew, a Moor, a Nawapian, a God and Earth, a Nation of Islam. Where can you go and just be your damn self and get some support without somebody trying to feed you some sort of doctrine? You understand? So what happens is most black people just end up suffering in silence. They don't even go nowhere. Because they're like, there's no place I can go to get some help. Why do people go to therapy? People go to therapy for 3 reasons. They're willing to pay somebody to hear them without interrupting, without judging, and promising to keep the information confidential. That's why you go to therapy. Now, if you have family, you don't need a therapist. If you got good friends, you don't need a therapist. And most of us will have people we can trust with our deepest secrets, you understand? So we'd rather pay a stranger $100 an hour so they can listen without judging, listen without interrupting, and promising that they will never divulge my secrets. And that's a shame that a black person got to pay for something that we should all be able to offer anyway. But the medication, we got to stay away from the medication. Who's my number 4? I had a 4.
Right here.
That was a brother.
I'm going to give a little commercial for you, really, and then ask a couple questions. First is, I'm a school psychologist. I'm one of the few nationally credentialed school psychologists who's a black man. So I've been at this for 20 years. So I could count, now you're number 6, of black men who have actually been in a room, who has a doctorate degree, who's a nationally credentialed school psychologist. So I'm just enjoying this moment right now. I worked in Long Beach School District for about 10 years, and now I teach over at Cal State Long Beach in the school psych program. I'm also the advisor for the Black Student Union. So my question is more about them because we have a big Black Consciousness Conference coming up, and I just gave the commercial there. It will be tomorrow. But my question is about what are black students, because this is really kind of the year for black students at universities. what are black students getting right? And what do they need to look out for in these next few years even to really focus on?
Good question. And just to reiterate what he said, the Cal State Long Beach Black Consciousness Conference is tomorrow, 11 to 9, so make sure you come through and show support to the students. When I was in South Africa last month, I showed up right at the time that the students began to protest. Even had an opportunity to speak to some of the protesting students at the University of the Western Cape in Cape Town, South Africa. I told them that fighting to keep the fees from being hiked is a necessary fight. Fighting to get rid of the racism at the colleges is necessary. But your biggest fight should be for economic opportunity, not for a college degree.
Yes.
The problem is that our students, and they're young, so I understand, they believe that by getting their college education, it will give them an opportunity.
Right.
Most of them don't know that when they graduate, half of them will be unemployed and in the soup kitchen,
Right.
no matter how many degrees that they have.
Right.
We often confuse the means with the end. The end is economic opportunity, but we confuse it with the means. Getting an education, which we believe will lead to the economic opportunity. It will not. America, first of all, there's no more middle class in this country. There are haves and have-nots. Okay. And that college degree, if you're black, is more likely to lump you with the have-nots than the haves. Because what happens is when you graduate, you're now minus $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 in the hole. And you're not guaranteed to get a job to pay that money back. So I really think as a people, we need to rethink college. Now for the students who are already in college, I would never damper them. I would tell them to continue and finish. But I do think that one of the contradictions of the black college activists, as we see at Missouri and Yale and other places, if this is really a revolution, and if you really want to teach white supremacy a lesson about mistreating black college students on predominantly white campuses, don't fight for them to change their behavior and keep your money. Take your money to a historically black college. I mean, look at the fact that our HBCUs are going out of business because of falling enrollment and a lack of capital. So you fighting with this white school to treat you better while you're giving them $25,000 a year. You understand? That's not making no sense to me. Because you're going through racism, but you're paying for the racism. Why not just divest from the PWI altogether? Check it out. If every black male Division I athlete left the University of Missouri, Duke, North Carolina, and instead went to Raleigh, Morehouse, Hampton, Howard, do you know what that would do for the financial revenue for the schools? What it would do to the academic departments, any athletic departments?
Come on.
You turn the PWI into a broke institution, and you turn the black institution into a quote-unquote PWI, financially speaking. Because all the PWIs, their biggest moneymaker is the black athlete. It's the black athlete. So if you really want to teach the white college a lesson, divest your athletes and divest your tuition dollars, and you cripple them overnight. Which begs the question, are you fighting for change, or are you just fighting to be accepted by white people? And the answer is, and again, they're young, so they got to go through it. I would never tell them they're wrong. No, they got to go through it. You only learn by doing. But most of them fighting for acceptance. Because the HBCUs are there. And if they really wanted to get creative, they could organize and sit down with the board of directors at the HBCUs. Listen, we're 5,000 black students from the University of Missouri. We all thinking about coming here. But we want to know, what is the tuition going to cost? What's here? Are we going to deal with the same racism at the HBCU as we dealt with at the PWI? And those are HBCUs. You understand? 500 black students at one time? How much money that's bringing in? You understand? So it's things we can do. But sometimes I think we spend too much time trying to be accepted by white people, as opposed to trying to do our own thing. Look at all the HBCUs closing down. So we're in the midst of an epic, historic moment of HBCUs going belly under, while black kids are fighting white schools to treat them better. Look at that. Doesn't make any sense. Who's my 5? Or did I only have 4 and I need to do Queen?
So I have a question. Okay. So we don't have like Pan-Africanist facilities here, like especially for schools for our children. So how do we deconstruct like those images of white supremacy? If we're having conversations like this in our homes, but at school they're being shown something different, which tends to infiltrate white supremacy. How do we balance that?
The rule of conditioning. Whatever the child sees the most, the unconscious mind will believe. It's all about repetition. The brain is at the mercy of repetition. So if you're showing them 25 positive black images, but the school's showing them 100 negative black images, the school wins. It's repetition. So first you got to talk to your child to know exactly what it is they're seeing. Okay? And then you have to come up with your own strategy. How I'm going to counteract this. Okay? They gave my son Christopher Columbus today. Guess what? I got to take it to the Black History Museum Saturday. You understand? I'm on that.
So, and they were talking about Christopher Columbus, and I had to tell him, I was like, he killed a lot of people. So he's 4, so I had to have conversations like that with him already. So it's kind of a counterbalance, and I'm afraid that, that was going to be like an infiltration that was going to overcome him, even though we're having conversations at home.
Right. Now remember, the image, especially for a child, the image is infinitely more powerful than the information. You understand? So we have to make sure we give our children images. We can't just give them books. You understand? So for example, the pictures. They show him a picture of Columbus, his brain will always remember that picture of Columbus. So what is the image you're going to give him to replace that? You understand? Because what we'll do is we like to give our children the reasoning behind the untruth that they were fed at school. But the reasoning doesn't replace the image that they got at school. Are y'all following me? Okay. They gave him a picture of white Jesus. You're giving him words in a book that prove Jesus wasn't African. No, you have to replace that image with another. Images must battle images, you see. So in our homes, we have to make sure that the image diet that we have is conducive to the personality and self-respect we want our children to have. Because a lot of us do not have strong African images in our house. We'll have an Obama, we'll have a Beyonce, you know what I mean? But we don't have strong African images in our house. And we have to give that to our children. All the way down to the cartoons, all the way down to the movies. And we got to be very careful with the movies, because what's going on right now in Hollywood is they are assassinating the image of the black family in our children's minds. That's the purpose of Scandal and Empire and the reality shows, is to teach black girls that black men are not worth your time. And it's to teach black boys that black girls are not worth your time. Take Empire, okay? You have 4 leading black men in the same role. You have Lucius Lyon, Hakeem, Jamal, and Andre. Lucius Lyon, narcissistic, power-hungry black male, no respect for black women, hates his baby mom. Hakeem, hyper-masculine, just like his dad. Women are only as good as he can use them and get them out of his face. Jamal, hyper-feminine, in love with a white male. Andre, bourgeoisie, Negro, Ivy League, married to a white woman. 4 black men in the same miniseries, and not one has a positive relationship with a black woman. Most of us will not even notice that. Every movie has a political message. Why did Straight Outta Compton come out last month? Was that a coincidence? That was not a coincidence. Straight Outta Compton came out on purpose to be an argument against the prosecution of police who murder black males by saying this is what they do. They sell dope, they listen to movies, they chase women, and this is all they about. So Straight Outta Compton was actually a protection for the police. You understand? It was a justification for the more murder of black males, because look at what they are. All they want to do is rap, smoke weed, sell drugs, and shoot each other. Everything is political. Everything, there's nothing that's not political. Everything is political. Most of the commercials now is biracial. You look at all the commercials, you see it's a white man with a black woman, or a white woman with a black man. So they're eliminating the black family as an institution. They kill it. But at the same time as they fight to eliminate the image of the black family, they promote the image of the homosexual family. All the homosexual shows, positive relationships. The homosexual cable networks, positive relationships. The magazines, you don't see negative conflict in the homosexual relationships. It's all happy. But in the black family relationships, it's all negative. This is a conditioning for our children. Okay, I have 2 daughters. My children, and all of you who have children, My daughters are 13 and 4. They're the first generation of African children who will have to consciously decide if they want to live their life as a man or as a woman. When I went to school, when you went to school, none of us was given that. You understand? I was a boy. I never even, contemplated. We were innocent, because that's innocence. I'm a boy, that's it. I'm innocent. I'm a girl, that's it. But now, because of the, especially here in California, because y'all kind of started it. First state to pass a law that said homosexual studies must be included in the social studies curriculum. You understand? So now, first and second grade, they get hit with, you know, are you really a boy?
Oh, no. Wow.
You see that? Are you really a girl? Are you sure that's you? Or is the society imposing that on you?
Yes.
You see, they use all this technology and brainwash, mess our kids up. And every high school got a homosexual club in it, ran by a homosexual teacher. And they recruit. I see them. They recruit. It ain't just about, I'm gay, so no. Why don't you come and try this whole facade? And if I'm a black kid with problems, I don't really belong. Poor relationship with my mom, no relationship with my dad. History of being bullied and beat up, I'm an outsider. I'm not gay. But if the homosexuals come to me, and the homosexuals get the respect, guess what? I'm going to end up getting turned out to get the respect. You understand? That comes with being a part of that gang. I see it all the time. In the LBGT community, I don't talk about it. They don't talk about the bullying that goes on in American schools against heterosexual kids, bullied into being gay. They don't talk about that. They don't talk about the brothers who are on the down low with the bisexuality that's pumping our women full of AIDS. They don't talk about that. I ain't seen no campaign by the LBGTs to do anything about the down low situation and how it's contributing to epic levels of AIDS in heterosexual black women. And see, black women, ironically, one of the ironies of the homosexual movement is that black women more than black men are supportive of homosexuality.
Yes.
But they don't realize that homosexuality hurts the black woman more than it hurts anybody else. Y'all already don't have enough men. So how the hell are you going to condone same-sex relationships when y'all ain't got enough men as it is? So you got 10 gay friends and you fail to realize that that's 10 less black men that's available to other black women. Homosexuality hurts the black woman more than anything else. It is a takeaway from the black family. You can't be for the black family and be for that too. It's one or the other. I had a brother, and I'll get off of this because I don't like to spin it. There's more than just that going on. But I had a brother, he sent me a message, he was gay. And he told me that he was a gay Pan-Africanist. And he said, I love my people too, and why can't I fight? And I said, well, let's look at this now. The word, you say you're a nationalist, because a Pan-Africanist is a nationalist. The word nationalism comes from the same root word as the word nature, which is NAT, which means to produce, to procreate, to project oneself in the future. If you're practicing homosexuality, you will not reproduce your DNA. Your ancestors will never breathe again. So how can you be a nationalist, which is pro-life, when you practice a sexuality that is anti-life? You see? And so he said, I never looked at it like that. You see? So my thing with them, I don't hate them, castigate them, beat them up. All I'm saying is that it would benefit them. Because it ain't no benefit to it. It's a European cultural behavior. And because we love white people, anything they do, we want to do. They become gay, we become gay. Okay? They domesticate dogs, we domesticate dogs. You understand? Anything the white men do, black people want to do. Insane. Exactly. We want to be accepted by white people. We suffer from the battered spouse syndrome. Battered spouse syndrome, a woman who's abused by her husband. He will beat her down so much if she's not careful, he will take over her mind to the point that she identifies with the oppressor. That's exactly what black people do. We do not believe we can exist without the white man. Subconsciously, we still need his validation. Even when you look at our scholarship, right? Most of our scholars, and this is no disrespect, it's just honesty, they work at white institutions. Most of our African-centered scholars do not work at black colleges. Okay? And that's not to say that there's not issues there, because we know Howard University fired Dr. Wilson and Dr. Ben. You understand? So we know there's issues with the HBCUs because they was financed on white money. I'm just saying we got to take a look at ourselves, especially those of us who consider ourselves conscious, you know, and look at the problems that we can fix amongst ourselves that have nothing to do with white people. Because even when we deal with reparations, we're entitled to reparations. But if there's no internal reparations first, you will flounder the physical reparation. See, because we don't have any infrastructure. So if the white man gave you $1 trillion tomorrow and you ain't got no economic infrastructure, guess where that money go the next day? Mercedes-Benz, Nike, Louis Vuitton. In fact, I would argue that white people probably want black people to get reparations more than black people do. Because they know that if you got reparations today, they'll be richer tomorrow because you ain't got no infrastructure. You ain't even got a bank to put it in. Your reparations check even goes in the white bank. So why are you fighting for reparations without infrastructure? Again, because people are short-sighted. They don't. I like to think things through to the final analysis. You know, this probably comes from me being a therapist. My thing in therapy is then what? And then what? A woman comes to therapy and say, well, my husband's going to leave. And then what? Then I'm going to be on my own. And then what? I'm going to have to get a job. And then what? In other words, take it all the way down to the final equation until she realizes that it ain't that bad. You can live. You can get over it. You see, black people have to take it to the final analysis as well, or otherwise we end up supporting stuff that's not even in our best interest. Slow down, evaluate it, and first of all, let's look at where this comes from. For example, on the colleges now, a lot of the black women have been swept up in the feminist movement. They don't know that this is white racism or white woman's thing. They don't understand that the black man has never systematically oppressed the black female. We don't control no institutions to oppress a black woman through. Absolutely not. You understand? We are oppressed together. We should fight together. They go to these colleges, read a couple books on feminism, and it looks like the right thing. I can understand how they get it because, you know, looking out for women's rights. But they don't understand the racist hope that's in that. It's going to have you antagonizing your own man who's in a worse situation than you are economically. You see what I'm saying? So we got to step back. Socialism. Same thing. Black people ran and jumped into the whole socialism, communism piece, failing to recognize that socialism and communism, that's not nationalism. Okay? That's going to eliminate capitalism, but it lets white supremacy live on. The white socialists are just as racist as the white capitalists, as W.E.B. Du Bois had to find out at 90 years old. You understand? So we got to stop using white brain products, capitalism, socialism, feminism, LBGTism, anything he got. Stop buying into it and come up with your own philosophies to solve your own problems. My number 2. I think I got a 2. Did I do everything? No.
You went through.
New numbers now?
Yeah. Yeah. You went 1 through 5. Yeah.
So,
Hold on. Did I get everybody who I gave a number to?
Yes, you did.
Yeah.
I got everybody. So it's new numbers now.
yes, sir.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. In the back 5. Right here 6. Queen. Afro 7. 8. 9. 10. 11.
And just
We're gonna stop right there.
Wait, yeah, we'll stop right there. We have about another hour or so.
We got another hour.
Hour.
We'll be good.
Hour and 10 minutes. Huh? Hour and 10 minutes. Shutting us down.
What time?
Five 30.
We can go to 6.
Let's get to the 11.
Well, they have a talent show up at the college that they got to get back to. However, I'm going to be good because me and Ali going to swing out after this. So whenever y'all got the cut, y'all straight because they got me.
Okay.
You cool with that?
That's fine. That's fine.
Who's my number 1? Yes, sir.
All right, nice to see you again, Dr. Umar. What I wanted to say was, I wanted to piggyback on right now what's going on in LA, and especially me as a 20-year-old black boy. I see black men, as I see it's a very, 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 very big, strong Hispanic black relation rate going right now, and I don't think it's good to the black community at all. Of course, no interracial relationship does, but it's so much of a constant push, and like, even brothers who know some type of knowledge whatsoever, like, they constantly don't view black women as beautiful, don't view them as relevant in their life. It's sad, but what can we do out here to try to change that? I mean, we can try to sell and talk as much as we can, but it's just like there's nothing that's really working out here. especially, I don't know how it is on the East Coast, but in Los Angeles it's disgusting. It's disgusting.
With the relationship, biracial relationship,
It's nasty.
interracial. Well, here's the thing. Couple points. Number one, biologically speaking, most Latinos are of African ancestry.
That's
I understand.
I'm only saying that to say, for the few, because it ain't many,
Yeah.
but for the few who identify with their Africanity, I don't treat them any differently. You understand? But that's only a few. Okay? Here's the issue. It goes back to the way their mothers raised them as black men. See, most black mothers do not raise their sons in an unapologetically African fashion. They raise them to be colorblind. You gotta remember this. You see, so it's not about marrying a black woman, it's about marrying a Christian woman. You see, this is how we raise our children. So, and then the same mother who did not raise her son not to be loyal to black women will be upset when he's not with a black woman. I had a mother contact me not too long ago. She wanted me to talk to her son because he was going crazy over these white girls in high school, right? But then I asked her, I said, with all due respect, what type of an image of a woman did you present to your son? She had blonde hair, you understand, wore contacts, you understand, she was already light-skinned, but I could tell she really, she was really enamored with the European phenotype. So he grew up in a house where his mother spent her life trying to look white. So how can you be mad when your son decides to get the real thing instead of a substitute? You understand? So a lot of black mothers set their sons up for that with the way in which they glamorize looking white. With the hair and the skin bleach and the contacts and everything else that we do. You see, so it's only a logical progression. You see, but again, that's why at the Fred Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy, we got to separate the boys from the fathers so they can understand that part of being a black man is being with a black woman. You understand? It's unapologetic. That's a principle that we stand on. And that's why when the girls come, they got to be nappy and natural headed. No process. Because we have to teach the girls how to love themselves. Because black girls suffer because of the standard of beauty that's pushed in society. I say it in the schools. Kindergarten, they hate themselves in kindergarten. Dr. Johnson, I'm ugly. Look at my nose. Look at my skin. You understand? So we have to sell them to themselves. We have to teach. First of all, every culture knows that their standard of beauty must be determined from within. Chinese do not ask white people what is beautiful. Chinese determine their own phenotype. By most outside cultures, Chinese are not necessarily attractive based on their cultural norms. But you never hear people ridicule the Chinese phenotype because they're not having that. You will respect me. This is what nature made me to look like, so it's beautiful. Period. You understand? But with black people, we want to use a European standard of beauty for us. Nobody is more opposite our phenotype than the European is. So if the European is your standard of beauty, you're going to be quite ugly compared to his standards because he is your opposite. You're the original man, and he's the most processed man. You understand? So totally, it's not going to work. You got a big nose, he ain't got no nose. You got a big ass, he ain't got no ass at all. You understand? So it's the total opposite of your reality. So to use that as your standard of beauty, we're going to have some problems for our children. Okay. Who's my two? Yes.
Okay. Two-part question. First of all, thank you for coming out and doing this. This is awesome, and I've been supporting you online when I can financially with the school. So this is a good opportunity to meet you in person. One, there was a young lady that I met probably about a year ago. I met her on the train, on the Blue Line, and I had a quick conversation with her. And she started telling me, about her issues in school, because I'm like, why are you on the train? You're so young. It's so early. Where are you commuting to this early? She goes, I'm going to Inglewood to go to school. Why are you going all the way to Inglewood to go to school? Well, I'm bipolar, and I was getting into fights all the time. So I got kicked out of the Long Beach School District. So now I have to bus and train to the only school that my mom could find that would take me, which was in Inglewood. And I'm like, who told you you were bipolar? And she's like, well, the school did.
They probably did.
But I'm saying,
Even though
so
they
now
legally
she's
can't.
internalized that, and she dismissed, in her mind, that explains everything. So she can only achieve so far. She can only do so much because she's taken that label onto herself.
Right.
And then the second part of my question is with regards to my godson. He's only 7, and he's already exhibiting extreme feminine tendencies. He got in trouble about a month ago for kissing another little boy, and they got into a fight. So with what you had touched on too about now this being forced in the school, it's like, how do you combat that? It's beyond imagery, because this is what they're being taught, you know, with both the mental illness and the homosexuality. This is like core curriculum. It's like, where did this come from?
First of all, if that 7-year-old kissed another 7-year-old, he was replicating something he saw.
Right.
A lot of this has to do from the fact that we take our children's innocence from them. We let them watch stuff on TV.
Right.
We let them listen to stuff on the radio.
Yeah.
And then we let them be privy to adult conversations that involve sexual content that they shouldn't even be around.
Right.
So remember, children are curious by nature. That's their nature. So if you introduce a thought, I don't care what kind of thought it is, in this case sexual, he's going to want to experiment that thought to get the experience.
Right.
He may know it's wrong, but he don't understand the extent to which he shouldn't be doing what he's doing. You understand?
Right.
So when them 2 7-year-olds kissed each other, they probably saw one of the gay shows.
Right.
You understand? Or they saw adults being intimate with each other in an inappropriate way. But children replicate what they see. He didn't dream that. That was put in his mind, in the environment. So we have to stop stealing our children's
But
innocence.
the thing is, living in Southern California, like when I go pick him up and I bring him to Long Beach, I can't control the environment. You know what
True.
I mean? Couple streets over, that's
But you
Boys
can talk to
Town.
him about
That's-
it though.
Right, that's Boys Town, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's become like every day, it's,
You have to talk to them about it. One thing we have to stop being is apologetic about teaching our children African-centered values. We are very apologetic. Or I said, well, I don't want them to hate gay people. I don't want them to hate white people. But you don't mind if they hate themselves, though. You see, we go out of our way to make sure they're comfortable with everything. Well, I don't want them to offend. No. Jewish people teach Jewish children, you are better than everybody. You will work for no one. When Chinese people show up in America, they tell their children, the reason we are hustling like this is so one day you will work for yourself, because we don't ever want you working for the white man. We're the only apologetic parents. We have to start being unapologetic. We do not do homosexuality.
right.
You understand? Homosexuality is not here. I don't want you talking about it. If anybody even mention it, you need to come and let me know. You are a man by assignment. You are not just a man biologically. God made you a man on purpose. That means the destiny that you was put on earth to fulfill can only be fulfilled in masculine clothing. It is bigger than just being born with a penis, you understand? You have a calling and a destiny that requires you to complete your assignment in this world as a man. We got to talk to the children and make sure they understand that your gender, just like your race, has a purpose to it. You just don't go around switching genders. I think I'm going to be a woman next year. It don't work that way for us. That's not who we are as a people. Now, if he's acting feminine at 7, I'm not worried about that. And I'm going to tell you why. Because generally at that age, a child has not yet reached the age where he's sexually attracted to anybody. You understand? I would let it ride. I've seen dozens of black boys who appear to be feminine young, they grow out of it. But you got to be careful not to criticize them too much about being feminine.
Right.
Because I've seen situations where the father criticized the son so much about being feminine that he began to feel inadequate as a male. And because his father castrated him, he needed another male to console him. So the father's fear of the son being homosexual actually produced homosexuality. Do not criticize young boys. Mothers, be careful with your tongue. Okay? Because I did work with a black boy who I'm convinced his homosexuality was triggered by his mother's verbal abuse. She was too hard on him to the point that it broke his manhood. You understand? So we gotta understand. Homosexuality for us is pathology. It is cultural pathology. I've never met a homosexual or lesbian person who I could not trace the roots, the onset of the behavior. Most of the time it's molestation, absentee parenting, or emotional castration, which is why I don't beat up on the homosexual population. I don't agree with it, but I don't beat them up because I realize that many of them come to that life because we don't know how to choose our babysitters. And we leave our kids with anybody, end up getting molested, and so goes the rest of it. It's something about a boy when his first sex act is with another male, it confuses him into what he's supposed to be. We don't really know how this happens. But the first time they have sex, especially if they orgasm, and it was with a man, it does something. Black homosexual males have one of the highest suicide rates. So they're not comfortable with it. So this whole stuff about I'm gay, you need to accept it as nonsense. Black men are not comfortable with their homosexuality. No, they're not. Which is one of the reasons why they need us to accept it, so they can be more at peace with themselves. We up to 3?
Right here.
Queen.
My question is, election time's coming up, and the candidate we have standing in front of us.
Ooh, Hillary?
Yes, that's my question. She, of course, we know that she's a dyke. I mean to say that, but I'm not trying to mean it in a bad way, but we do know that. So do you think that this homosexual agenda is going to be pushed even more when she's put into office? Because I really believe they already know who's going to be president, and we're not really electing.
Right. Presidents are chosen 4 years.
Exactly.
Everything else is political theater.
Exactly.
Now, remember when Obama and Hillary squared off in the Democratic primary in 2008? First time he ran. Both of them were against same-sex marriage. Both of them.
Yes.
Yes,
Sure was.
both of them were against
Yes.
same-sex marriage.
Yes.
Obama and Hillary were against it. 4 years later, they changed their whole tune.
Yes.
The reason they changed their tune was the Rockefeller World Population Council,
And Black church.
Planned Parenthood International, International Monetary Fund, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation,
Okay.
and the rest of the eugenics population control junkies had concluded that we're going to use homosexuality as a weapon against the black family to reduce the black birth rate. That's why they switched up. And that's what all of y'all have to understand. This whole homosexual thing, it ain't about family, it ain't about sex, it ain't about family rights. It's about population control.
So it's genocide.
It's genocide.
Okay.
Homosexuality is genocide. Point blank, period.
So what do we need to do collectively?
Well, here, but let me get back to the elections.
Okay.
First of all, we don't choose the president.
No.
So that's not an election. I care if black people participate in it or not.
Exactly.
Other elections, if we organize ourselves, we can determine the outcome. Okay. Governors, state reps, U.S. reps, city council persons, mayors, we should participate if we're going to be organized. If we're not going to be organized, we don't need to vote at all. You understand? But if we're going to organize ourselves, we can then get something out of the person in office by demanding something for our votes. See, remember, we're the only people who voted for Obama who didn't ask for nothing. So you got nothing. You got absolutely nothing. You didn't ask for it. Negroes was running around America on TV talking about, I'm glad he's just black. You got to do nothing. Why would you say that, even if you believe it? All the problems black people got, and you're going to say on national TV, he ain't got to do nothing for me, just be black. Your self-esteem is that low that you needed a black man in the White House in order for you to feel better about yourself. I don't have them type of self-esteem problems. We have to stop looking for the black face in a high place. Not the black president, but black power is what we need. Chinese are not trying to run for president of the United States. They do not care. They run the economy in your ghetto, and that's all they care about. They know that whoever runs for mayor got to come through them. Whoever running for governor got to come through me because I control the money. What did John D. Rockefeller say? Give me control over a nation's wealth. I care not who makes the law. Politics does not control money. Money controls the politics. And until black people organize their money, no politician will ever carry out your agenda because they're being financed by white folks. You understand? So if the mayor of Long Beach is being financed by the white Democratic Party or the white businesses of Long Beach, even if they want to do something for black people, how can they? I was put in this position by white dollars. And until we start determining who we want to run and say, listen, we want you to be the mayor of Long Beach, brother or sister. How much you think it's going to cost you to beat the incumbent? I'm going to need $5 million to beat him. I'm going to need this amount for radio, this amount for TV, this amount for the newspaper. I'm going to need this for my office. I'm going to need this for internet. You understand? I need $5 million to beat him. Guess what? The black community of Long Beach is going to give you that $5 million. And the reason we're going to give you that $5 million is because after you win, you ain't beholden to nobody. You can be unapologetically African with your agenda because it was Africans who put you in a position to be mayor. Until we finance our candidates, we will always get sold out. Everywhere I go to, every city, it's the same thing. They sold us out. The politicians, how are they going to do anything for you? You did not put any organized money behind the campaign. If we want to keep them loyal, finance them. That way they don't need no white money and they can do exactly what we need them to do. Now, the only fear they have is losing their life. But they ain't got to worry about the fear of having to pay somebody back for looking out for them. So we have to become more politically mature. We have to understand that politics is ran from the pocketbook. When white people want something done, they don't vote for it. They pay the person who has the authority to make it happen. The Italian mafia, they do briefcase politics. Here's 500 grand. Here's $1 million. I need that law. Here go 2 million. I need that whole strip of houses. They pay for it. Black people, we should have a fund, an emergency fund, where all we do is pay people off to do what's in the best interest of the black community. If everybody else is dealing with money and we dealing with votes, we're done. Money runs America, not votes.
Right.
You see? And if you really think somebody goes into a room and count all the votes, black people crazy. Black people really think white folks go into a room and count all the votes and decide who's going to win.
Yeah.
Listen, we don't need democracy. We need development. I don't care who the president or the mayor is. As long as I'm getting the resources I need to improve my community, I don't care who's in it. We give too much credence to the face, to the personality. Personality don't matter. Because whoever you elect was already pre-selected.
Yes.
Listen, power is not having the right to vote. Power is having the right to determine who can be voted for. We let the powers that be give us 2 pre-selected candidates, both of whom they control. You're not choosing a policy, you're choosing a personality. The policy is the same no matter who wins. You see?
Okay.
So the Obama thing set us back though. Let me say this
Yeah.
and I go to the next person.
So too.
Because Obama is the first president in American history who was never asked to do anything for black people.
Yeah.
That's going to hurt us. Because whoever goes in the office next, I don't care if it's Trump, I don't care if it's Hillary, I don't care if it's Christie, I don't care if it's Jeb Bush, they do not have to be accountable to black people anymore. It's going to be very difficult for the Urban League, the NAACP, Congressional Black Caucus, for anybody to demand a meeting with the president. Because we want to know why you're not doing nothing about black issues. It's going to be very difficult. You know why? Because all they have to say is, Obama didn't do shit.
Why should we?
For 8 years, and y'all worshiped him like he was Jesus. And now you want to come and ask me to do something I don't have to do nothing for. We really hurt our grandchildren. Because this is going to hurt our kids and our kids' kids and our kids' kids. Even if we was going to give Obama a pass, we should have made it look like we was holding him accountable. But to just say he can have a pass like that, with all the hell we catch him. And make no mistake, the reason the police are murdering our people the way they are is because they have the silent approval from Obama. Okay? The police were brought under the United States Armed Forces with the Patriot Act. The president is the chief of staff, commander-in-chief of all military forces. So whenever a cop kills a black boy, he's doing it with the consent of the president of the United States, and yet and still black people haven't said one thing to Obama about that. Even in our suffering, we protect his negligence. You see, me either. In fact, I'm the only scholar I know back in 07, 08 when he was running, who said by the time this man get out of office, the lecture's on YouTube, by the time this man get out of office, black people are going to be in a state almost as worse as slavery.
Right,
Look where we are. Look at our index. We're worse under him than under both Bushes. Unemployment, income, and the black on black crime. The police on black crime.
Yes.
It's insane. Cops are doing whatever the hell they want, which brings me to my next point. I believe, and I'm not a violent man, and I don't speak recklessly about violence, but I believe that the black community has let the white police of this country get so far out of hand that we're going to have to go to war with the police in order to put them back in their place. I really think it's going to take, and I'm not happy about this, because that means a lot of us are going to have to die. You understand? But I believe it's going to take a significant conflict between black men and white people, an armed struggle. It may last a day, it may last a week, but black men are going to have to stand up to the police in order for the government to say that's enough now.
Do you think they're pushing it?
Nothing's going to stop it. Nothing's going to, they're out of control because we let them be out of control by listening to people like Sharpton and Jesse who said they just let the investigation take place. What the hell do you mean investigation? Every time somebody who ain't black gets murdered, the person automatically guilty. But when a black person gets murdered, wait, we don't have all the facts yet. What the hell facts? We got all the facts. They killed an unarmed black man. What more facts you need? You understand? But they're so out of hand now. Even when I was in South Africa, they like,
They've been out of hand, man.
they're like, it's so out of hand. One day, black men are going to have to get together. We're going to have to do exactly what the Deacons for Defense did against the KKK. I'm telling you. And we're going to have to go out there and say, listen, no more. If you want to do this, we just going to have to kill each other right now. But you ain't taking another black life and getting away with that shit. That's what's going to happen. So brothers, get your damn pistols. Because it's going to keep this back. Either that or you're going to keep on seeing this. And now they're attacking black women. So the cop didn't dump the sister out the desk in South Carolina. If that would have been a black cop dumping a white kid, he might not have made it out that school. You see. So I really think it's going to take a violent conflict between black women and police. I don't see no other way. Because they are out of control. And Obama is so much of a coward. That's why I can't respect him at all. He won't even say anything manly about what the police are doing. This Negro got on TV and said, I think the police need to do some soul searching. The soul food argument, really? Well, hold tight. When the homosexuals were being discriminated against, you gave them laws. When white women wasn't making enough money, you passed the Equal Pay Act. When Latinos, you gave them the Supreme Court justice. So nobody else had to do no soul searching. You passed law, but when it comes to black people, you got to do some soul searching. But guess what? Let me tell you what's going to happen. Because I know Negroes. When Obama's no longer president, him and Michelle going to do a tell-all autobiography. And they're going to talk about how they was up in the Oval Office crying many nights. And Barack was so hurt when Trayvon got shot, but he couldn't say anything about it. And he was like, Michelle, I should just go on TV and tell the world how I feel. And I would not let him do that because I was scared for my husband's life. And y'all don't know how much we cried over Eric Garner and we cried over Freddie Gray. I'm telling you, they want to write a book and clean their whole image of the black folk, and we're going to be boo-hooing, and Obama going to be getting $5 million a speech. Watch!
Well, people are starting to see now. I mean, some, right?
Until his book come out.
Well.
And they go on a book tour, which is going to be the top-selling book in American history outside the Bible. Trust me! They're going to buy the Obama book.
Yeah.
And he gonna make it look like he hurt for every black boy that was murdered. You know what really made me upset about him? Remember the homosexual brother came out in the NBA. What was his name? Chris Collins, right?
Jason
Collins, right?
Yeah.
Obama gave him a phone call to commend his courage on announcing to the world that he was gay. Hold! You ain't called Trayvon mother? You ain't called Freddie Gray mother? You ain't called Michael Brown mother? You ain't called Sandra Gray mother? You ain't called a parent of a single murdered black person, but you'll call a homosexual and congratulate him. And I can go on and on with Obama. Yeah, I'm the last one.
Well, you know, that's why I opened it up. I knew.
But look at Hillary.
Yeah. Yeah.
Black people still ain't learned their lesson. They running around after Hillary, now black folks.
Exactly.
That's what Hillary going to do. And Hillary's like, yeah, Obama did some things wrong. He did ignore black issues, and I'm going to look out for y'all. Hillary Clinton is a big-time Planned Parenthood supporter.
Every time you mention black.
Black genetics, abortion.
Yeah.
First of all, Hillary Clinton is a population control junkie.
Yes.
So she's just like the Gates and the Rockefellers, eliminating black life. She ain't for no black people. But she's playing the black role, went to the black church.
She's for white women.
Yeah. She gonna do just what her husband did to get the black vote. Play the saxophone, smoke some weed.
We're gonna
do it again. But Donald Trump. The reason they put Donald Trump out there was to energize the electorate.
Yes.
After Obama, black people and poor white people were done. They gave up on presidential politics. You understand? Because Obama was their everything. So Obama fell and they said, I ain't never voting no more. So the white man said, we got to come up with something to get people voting. Why? The reason they need people to vote is they need to know that the democracy is still being held together.
Is Trump working with Clinton?
When people stop voting, they turn to revolution.
Okay.
So America needs you to vote. That's why they always parrot about getting the votes out. It ain't about your constitutional rights. I need to believe that you still believe in the vote. You understand? Because when people stop voting, they turn to revolution.
They're going to turn over to
So they said, what can we do? And they came up with Trump. Because they said, if you put Trump in the race, he's going to be so racist, so unapologetically racist, that black people are going to feel they got the vote again. Yes. And he's going to be so unapologetically racist that poor white folk are going to be inspired to vote again. You understand? So Trump saved American democracy. He saved it.
he
I don't
didn't.
think he's going in at all.
But he didn't trick nobody. I knew exactly what they was doing.
Oh,
And I
he got
voiced
him.
it from
He
the
got him.
beginning. I said,
The
there's
next
no
election
way.
might have a bigger turnout than Obama because of Trump.
Yeah.
Because of
He's working with them in order to get the next lesbian,
He was
get the
strategy.
lesbian
He was
president.
strategy. Okay.
Okay.
What was your number, Queen?
I was free.
Three, who's four? My brother.
Yeah, again, it's a pleasure for you to be here standing up for us like you do all across the nation. We don't have many people doing that sincerely. I'm from Indiana.
Hold that thought, my brother. Oh, cool, you need a seat? You sure?
Yeah, I'm from Indiana, and it's black or white. It's none of this. It's black or white, and the racism, it can't really be hid. From sentencing, this guy get caught with cocaine, this guy get caught with cocaine. He's gonna get treatment. He's gonna get 40. You know what I mean? So we live in a stereotype. By mindset, when I came out here, it was on business. By mindset, I'm very ambitious and success driven. It's not necessarily for money, for wealth's sake. It's because I didn't always want to fall into the prophecy of what the white man says I'm going to be based on who I am. When I got here, I started reading about the environment and what goes on here, and I started seeing black men have been killed in Long Beach, by police, And where we're from, we're secluded away from these type of things. We're secluded away from success and everything like that. So when I started studying, one of my companies is a software company. I'm in the front of a computer like 15 hours a day. So when I get work overwhelmed, I surf. And what started happening, I started seeing this stuff, like he got killed. This older woman got slapped. And, I started becoming angry. And there's a lot of people that respect me where I'm from. I get inboxes on the biblical advice and things like this. But one night I was up and I started seeing, I went back on my timeline 6 months and I noticed the difference in me. And I noticed I got angry. I started seeing kind of violent-wise, like you can't really let these people do this stuff or they'll just walk in your house, slap your black woman around and you're just gonna let them do it. So I wasn't really with that. So my question is, several of my partners, they're also very ambitious and driven men who have come into some type of finance. So when a person is awakened like that, and he may have some type of financial capital, what is the most effective way that that person can strike and have significant impact on what's taking place in the black lives?
Couple things. I'm gonna go back to the credit union or the bank. If it's enough money where it can be loaned out to empower other people to start their own businesses, that's one avenue. Putting black people to work is what we need more than anything else, right? I always say, I wish I had enough money where I could go into every hood and start a strip mall. 10 businesses on the strip, all black owned, each of them employing about 20 people. That's gonna start generating enough revenue for everybody to be able to take care of their family and improve the neighborhood. But to be able to help other people generate revenue, that's what we have to do. We have to be incubators of economic opportunity.
I think from like immediately I'm talking more along the lines of the violence that's being perpetrated towards us. Like how can you, combat that?
See, a lot of the violence is economically based in terms of people being desperate and not being able to meet their basic needs. So it's still gonna go back to the economics. No, I've never seen nobody feel prouder than a black man who's been looking for a job and suddenly found one. It almost makes you want to cry. You know what I mean? That feeling of knowing I'm coming home with a paycheck. Those of us who've never had that problem, we take it for granted. But I've seen brothers in that position and I've seen their life switch. I've seen brothers just do a straight 360. Now I can provide for mine. I'm leaving the corner alone. I ain't drinking no more. It's a whole new energy come over them when they're able to live as men. I don't think we understand sometimes the extent to which black men are hurt by the fact that they can't provide for their families. I remember listening to Steve Harvey one time, and I'm no fan of Steve Harvey, but he was talking about how before he became Steve Harvey, he didn't have no money. And he said his daughter's birthday would come around, he wouldn't even go see her. And he was like, I know people would criticize me, he said, but y'all don't understand. When a father ain't got nothing for his kids, he don't want to see them. Because he's so ashamed of not being able to give them nothing that he just hides. Yep. So when we talk about black men, there's no way we're going to be able to make black men better husbands, better fathers without giving them an economic opportunity. Providing is too central to our sense of self, that if you don't deal with our inability to provide, it's going to be hard to deal with us. It's that critical. Who's my father?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Brother, Umar, you speak my story a lot when you speak. I've been studying you, what you've left, I guess now for maybe about 4 or 5 months. But my mother said best, if there was someone who knew this test before they put you in this slow class, or slow area, I'd never been put on drugs or whatever, then, you know, then I would probably have been able to learn how to read and write before I went to, graduate out of high school. But without embarrassing moms, you know, I learned how to do something different, that's memorizing. Anyway, in doing so, I run across a lot of young brothers who have the same somewhat situation. So one of my parts of my question is, what do we do with these young brothers at this time until you get your school together? And it's been suggestions to where we open up satellites, little small satellites, somewhat of an orientation for the brothers program when you do get the program up. Another part of that is, and I deal with a lot of young gang members. Matter of fact, you got to be a gang member before you can even deal with, or you got to be active before you can even deal with my program, right? One reason is because I come from that club. The second reason is because I don't know how to deal with gays, and I don't know how to deal with other people with these other issues they have coming up. I know how to deal with the people that I've dealt with all my adult life. Now, lately, I would have never believed it until I heard you say that in suicides in the African American community has been on the rise. I would never believe that that's a part of our heritage, because we're loving people, and that it's only in America that we hear anything about African Americans having suicide. I'm running into them situations, and that's why it's extremely important that we at least address, touch some type of way, grabbing some of these young brothers, because, like I said, they're taking their lives. If it's not the drug, it's an issue with the sisters. Another issue is, in dealing with these young brothers, I have found that there's been bullying by homosexuals in these grade schools, high schools, or whatnot. Dealing with them, by not being a parent of the child, I would actually get ousted from the school. Going up there because I deal with these young men, finding out that somebody has bullied them about some homosexual, or even, you know, the social media, how they get on there. Everybody in school knows this boy is gay, but then all of a sudden he wants to relate to this other boy on social media, and how that pushed this little youngster in the shell. And, you know, then we know that the ones who's being pushed in the shell don't grow. They're not being able to be educated anymore. How do we get in? What do we do with these people? I'm just showing more and more. We're waiting on this school. We're waiting on this program. We need this in the United States in several places. We also got people that's willing to even go out there and look for these campuses for you. We know in Indiana there's a lot of schools that's been closed down. In Baltimore there's a lot of schools that's been closed down.
Yeah.
North Carolina.
We got a sister we got to get a seat for.
She can sit. I'll see.
It ain't that time of party.
Yep, I sure do.
But Brother Umar, you know, I don't know if you have any volunteer service in these spaces or anything like that. I know that you're signing up different organizations. I don't know how fast you're getting back, but it's enough of this talking. I'm needing to hear actions, getting a part of the action plan. That's one of the reasons why I'm here today, because of the different states I've heard you spoke on. And then to the end of my questions, and like I said, it's mainly what we're going to do in between this time. Now, We know that there's been a blackout on African Americans. Do we struggle? Okay, I'm at the end. Do we struggle at standing up and saying we're strong? Because like all these young men that I'm dealing with, their mothers and their fathers or whatever, whoever they go back to, or their teachers or whatnot, dwindles whatever work I've done with them. Do we still stand strong? We know that there's a blackout. Or do we bow, or do we go in the closet? Because you also called me out by saying just now, as well as on the internet, you say that we can't just be on the internet begging. We can't be on the internet doing nothing. You said we just doing our work on the internet, we gotta come out and get the people. But they spreaded us all throughout the United States. Places in Philadelphia, Baltimore, whatever, you can run into African Americans walking down the street. Here in Long Beach, how many did you see coming in? It used to be African American, right? This is rolling 20 insane crib. But this is Latino all day, Caucasian, hippie all day. And this is happening in Seattle, Washington, right here in LA, in Compton. Gentrification is going on. And they're stealing property. So what are we doing? Like I'm telling you, we're getting bullied left and right. So I mean, should we be waiting? Or should we just go ahead and have some more that's going on? This is my question.
I think, first of all, in good statements, I think you got to find out who's trying to be part of something independent. And you got to separate them people, not physically, but ideologically, from those who still want to be accepted. There's a lot of black people who are not interested in anything independently black. They just want to be accepted. Their whole life is about being absorbed by the white social structure. So those of us who want to become independent, we got to become independent. And the first thing we got to do is start that credit union. That's when you know people serious. Because if you take this room right here, if all of us was under one credit union, every time we got paid, we put our check in that credit union. And that's where your disposable income stayed until you spent it.
Right.
In this room alone, you probably got at least $1 million. $1 million, at least. Okay, so when somebody needs to get a loan, they can get it because all of our money is supporting that loan. We are the board of directors for our own credit union. So when you need access to capital and you can prove you can pay it back and you're going to donate some of that back to the community, because it ain't no just get yours and step off. We would have a contract that 20% of everything you make is coming back, or we sue you for everything you work for. So it ain't no use us and then step off. No, you're obligated forever to be a part of this to help other black businesses get built. This is how everybody does it. You know, in fact, I'm not even an economist, but I just been studying this because I've been studying how these other cultures make it happen. And they all do it because they got that economic vehicle. We're the only people without the economic vehicle. We do got a couple black banks, but I ain't came across one yet that's progressively black. In fact, the black banks that I come across, they scared to do business with black folks. You know, they don't want to do anything black. So we have to become that economic stimulus package. You know, Black Wall Street, same thing. You know, we have to be in a position where our money saves us. We have to be our own economic stimulus package. It ain't coming from no bank. How can the people trying to exterminate you is going to finance your independence? It don't even make sense. First of all, the banks cannot loan capital to black people for one big reason. If they're trying to gentrify you, they cannot finance you to the point where you can hold on to your property in the city that they want to take back. Do you understand?
Exactly.
If we try to get rid of black folk, the last thing you want to do is finance them, because now they can hold on and compete with the whites for the different institutions that they want to buy at Long Beach. So the banks are in on the gentrification by keeping you propertyless, by keeping you financially powerless. So we ain't going to be able to work with the banks. We can do it ourselves. We don't even need them. We can do it ourselves.
That's right.
And I just want to respond to that. We have to look at alternative revenue streams. Now, by show of hands, how many of us have medical insurance?
I can't get none.
So people who have medical insurance, what if there was a doctor's office that you would go every week to get a checkup, to get your blood pressure checked, that your insurance is going to pay, but that doctor's office was a conscious business, and they took that revenue that people come in every week, bring your kids in every week, and that money goes earmarked first to run the business, Second of all, to buy other businesses, and then to deposit money into Help Start Credit. This is what the Asians have done. They have come, in Koreatown, the Vietnamese, when they come over here, first they aggregate their money, put it together, send one of them to college, they get their degree.
Right.
Then they put up the money for them to have an office. And then that money goes to start buying all the commercial real estate on that block. To fund money to put into banks and to leverage that to start other businesses. So that's why they've been able to come over here and take over everything, because they're just using the money that's flowing anyway. They're not asking for a donation, they're not asking for a tax-free loan or gift or anything. They're using what people already have. And so we got to open up our minds to be able to point out these things and put them together to make them work. We already know there's the medical industry, is hundreds of billions of dollars a year. And all we got to do is tap into it.
Right.
Yeah, that's well said. In fact, one of the ideas that I was speaking to some people about in North Carolina, the fact that we have all these naturopathic doctors, Dr. Sadie Laila Afrika, Scott Whitaker, and others, they need to come up with, or someone needs to assist them in coming up with a universal health care plan for the conscious community. You understand, where you pay into it and you go and see them instead of seeing a regular doctor. I mean, they will make more than enough money, But again, thinking more futuristically, something that we have to do. I also think black businesses need to start working together more. That's another reason why they don't get the black dollar, because they're not organized.
Right.
Black businesses are spread out, they competing with each other. How did the Koreans take over the black hair care? They took it over because this shop was competing with this shop for customers instead of working together. So the Koreans came in and said, they're not communicating anyway, I can just lock the whole perm industry down and boom. So I think black businesses have to do a better job of supporting one another, which they don't do. Okay? So for example, if you come to me for a haircut, after you get your haircut, you want to get a $20 coupon to go and get your brakes fixed at his shop. He's going to give you a $100 tuition coupon to go to her preschool. She's going to give you a $20 coupon to go to her hair shop. She's going to give you a $10 coupon for the dollar store, so every business sends the customer to the next black business. You don't see that with black business. Yeah, black businesses got to get organized and stop competing. Why do you think U.S. Airways and Continental are merging? Because they realize that if we work together, we're going to make more money together than we made separate. This is what mergers are. Turning TNT, they said, hey, we work together with what you bring to the table and what I bring to the table. Do you realize if we market that as one package, we're going to make more money together than we would have ever made separately? Black folks don't even consider that. Because our need to compete and outdo the next Negro, you understand, is killing us. And when you take the E and the R out of Negro, you get ego. And that is our problem. The Negro's ego, that European god of oppression, EGO, that lives inside of us and has us competing against other black people as if we're not one and the same. And that's why we have to socialize our kids and raise our children so they identify on the level of community. When you identify on the level of community, every time a black man does well, I do well. When a black woman hurt, I hurt. Our children do not have a community identity. They got an individualistic, selfish thing that they got from their parents. Because let's be honest, we was all raised to do what? Get a good education, get a good job, and get the hell out together. No black, I don't know too many black parents who told their children, you will not leave this community, you will remake this community. That's not how we was raised. We was raised to get ours and get. Don't know about you. Jewish parents don't raise the Jewish kid. Get yours and get away from these Jews. Latinos, get yours and get away from these Mexicans. Get yours and get away from these Chinese. Come on. They don't think like that. Negroes think like that. Who's my, who we got, 5 or 6 now?
Real quick, 30 minutes max for show.
What's your number, Queen?
Take it or leave it.
Okay.
30 minutes.
Go ahead, Queen.
Okay, so,
Listen up. Where that sign-in list at? It's still going around?
It's all filled out. Yeah.
I'll get more.
I'll take that.
It's already done.
Okay, where is it at though?
In the front office, in the front. Register.
So, questions?
Right here, Queen.
Okay, so, you kind of touched on a lot of, the points I wanted to make, but we all know it's not a secret that other races come into our community and create their wealth by us spending money with them and then taking back
Yes.
their own neighborhoods. And like you said, with the hair care industry, like that's $9 billion a year that's going out of our pockets. So what happens when we start building towards an economic infrastructure and they start getting nervous that their wealth is being taken away? Or will we have another Black Wall Street? Like, how do we prevent that? Do we walk into it with preparation, like
Good question.
having military or our own military or protection, or do we just kind of walk into it blind?
You can't have no military until you have an economy.
Well, not necessarily a military, but just protection, like a community.
No, stay with me. I'm with you, and I agree with you. You can't have a military until you have an economy. And the reason you can't have a military until you have an economy, because if you ain't got no economy, you cannot finance your military. So if we went to war with the white man right now, we don't manufacture no weapons. We have no stream of distribution. Do you understand? It would be easy for the white man to wipe us out, because we don't have no manufacturing sector or distribution sector. You see? So you gotta have economy in order to have the military. Now, to answer your question, you are correct. White power will never allow black power to live next door because it is a contradiction in sovereignty. Do you follow me? So there's no way America can tolerate black power. It is a contradiction. It must destroy it. That's why we have Rosewood and Tulsa and Charleston and Wilmington and all the other Black Wall Streets. They cannot let that happen. So why do we build it anyway? You build it anyway, so you can perfect the art of how to do it. With the foreknowledge of knowing that you're going to have to expatriate that institution.
That's right.
To a black country.
That's right.
Whether that's the Caribbean, Central and South America, whether it is Africa. For example, when I build my school, right? Ultimately, they coming for it. So once you perfected it, your next decision is where am I taking it? Everything we build here to know how to do it. So when we show up in Africa, when we show up in the Caribbean, we can say, listen, we already done it. So we know what we're doing. Just give me the space, give me the land, and we got it. You understand? This is practice. This is only practice. You understand? A permanent institution is when we move it elsewhere.
Good answer.
You do got some people who think that somehow you're going to work it out with the white man here. You know, I've always disagreed respectfully with the different organizations that have wanted to ask the United States government to concede a couple of states to black America so we could build a black republic in the southern portion of America. For the Garveyite, that is nonsense. For the military strategist, that is very dangerous. If America gives us South Carolina, Georgia, Alabama, so you got a black nation surrounded by crackers on all four sides with no major access to a waterway.
Come on now.
You see what I'm saying? It's easy for them to destroy us then because you're concentrated. You understand? So that's not the solution. The solution is, as that man said on the wall back there, sooner or later you're going to have to leave. Black people don't want to accept that because we love white people. We are in love with white folks. But ultimately, in the final analysis, if you're really going to build black power, and this is the irony, most people think the more black power we build, the easier it'll be to live in America. I disagree. The harder it will be to live in America. Only reason why you got peace now, and you really ain't got peace, but the reason it's as peaceful as it is now, because you do not pose a direct economic threat to any nation in this country. Not the Chinese, not the Jews, not nobody. The minute you start posing an economic threat to somebody's wealth stream, that's when stuff is going to hit the fan. We don't pose that yet. As the Korean told the brother when he asked him why they don't sell hair care products in discount to black folk, he said that y'all build churches and we build business. Stick to what y'all do and let us stick to what we do. So we have a global reputation of being religiously immature. We got a global reputation. Who's my seven? Yes, ma'am.
Hi. I wanted to know, today, do we have the means to create a credit union? And if so, how can we do that?
I'm investigating now. I have a team where we're looking at exactly what we got to do to make the credit union work. So I'm looking at that now, and I'm hoping by February, Black History Month, I'll be able to roll it out how it needs to be done. You know, That's gonna be a very dangerous thing, though. That's more dangerous than anything else we can do. Because now you're talking about undermining their econ. Remember, we exist to be the consumer. Everybody can rely on the black person to fuel their economy. So what happens when the black person says, I'm not fueling nobody else's economy, I'm gonna make my own. You understand? A lot of Chinese people gonna have to go back to China. A lot of East Indians gonna have to go back to East India. A lot of white folk gonna go to the soup kitchen. You understand? You know, you start talking about taking about people's money, you start talking about murder. So we gotta be prepared for that.
And also, I wanted to know, we were talking about holding churches accountable things. Should we also hold accountable these rappers and hip hop artists that put out real negative messages about it?
Yes, there's only one Achilles heel though, with holding the artist and the athlete accountable. Most of their money does not come from you, it comes from white people.
Right.
You understand?
Right.
So you could hold them socially accountable, where we could just ostracize them socially if we don't support your work. You understand? And that would hurt them. That would hurt them. But it ain't the same as economics, because they would still be rich, they would just be alienated. And some of them are so far up the white man's behind, they wouldn't even notice that you ostracize them. You gotta remember, most NFL tickets, most NBA tickets, most rap albums are bought by white people.
Right.
So they don't need our support to continue to make it. You know what I mean?
But should we voice it, like let it be
Yes.
known, like, you know what?
Yes, I think they should be socially, yes, the black community got to do what everybody else does. When you go against the best interests of the people, you get ostracized. People do not talk to you. They do not support you. Okay, my grandma was a Jehovah's Witness. That's what they do in the Jehovah's Witness movement. The Nation of Islam does it. Everybody has a system where if you don't do what you're supposed to do, you get ostracized.
Right.
But we never had it as a people.
Right.
We never had it as a people. And that's because we buy into this religious nonsense of forgiving people all the time. So, you know, nobody ever gets held accountable because they get forgiven, then they go get baptized and they come back and do it all over again.
Right.
You know what I mean? But we're going to have to get strict. If we love ourselves, we're going to have to make people respect us. And the first people we got to make respect us is each other. Black people do not respect black people. You understand? So we're going to have to raise that bar and make people suffer when they don't do what they're supposed to. You know? I always talk about the Ski Mask Club. You know, a militaristic crew of unnamed brothers and sisters who once a month, they go around the community, they purge all the garbage out of the community. Pedophiles, rapists, domestic abusers, agents. You know?
Good teaching.
Now, of course, you got to be careful when you start talking about that kind of stuff, but we need it. We need it. If people knew that if I work against my community, one day I might be walking down the street and slip in a manhole, they stop doing certain stuff. You understand? We're going to have to get like that. I'm telling you, because black folks, I'm telling you, you're going to have to retrain us all over again to be loyal to self, and that's something that we've never been. We have more sellouts than all other races put together because we are the most hopeless people. And that's why I would say to y'all, the number one thing you have to do is never give up hope that we can change our situation, because I see so many people, even elders now, who've been in the struggle most of their life, they're starting to become hopeless. They're starting to think that this ain't changeable, it's not correctable. And when you do that, you give white supremacy the greatest victory. Because once they defeat you psychologically, once they convince you to say that he cannot be toppled, he has just become God. And we cannot make the white man our God. We make him everything else, but not make him your God. Always keep that in your heart, even if you never voice it verbally, that you know he can lose, that one day he will fall. Here's the thing. We may not beat him in our lifetime, but we have to take our brick out the wall. And then the next generation got to take their brick out the wall. And sooner or later, so many bricks get taken out that the next generation come, they just blow and the whole house fall down. The problem is we're not even trying to take a brick out the wall. In many cases, we adding a brick to the wall. You know, so we have to make sure that we do our job in this whole situation. Who's my seven?
That was seven.
Eight.
I was eight.
Queen.
You were talking about the repatriation, and you, I was about my question actually to feedback off that on the Charles Tyler show. And you were saying that in order for us to do that, to transplant our system, that we have to perfect it here. And so my question is, well, what would be your standard of measurement for practice if we want to establish, you know, a system of whatever, start practicing it? What is your measurement of time, or what would you say is the measurement or standard of success in order to, you know, transplant?
Good question, good question. Which is bringing me up an idea of something we're working on. Team Pan-African, which is my organization, the International Movement for the Independence and Protection of African People, we're starting the Team Pan-African Research and Repatriation Task Force. If any of you are interested, please let me know, and I'm gonna make sure y'all have my contact information. The Research and Repatriation Task Force is an initiative where we're going to get brothers and sisters to study in group every continent in Africa for repatriation feasibility. So for example, y'all might be Zimbabwe, they might be South Africa, they might be Congo, they might be Ghana, they might be Nigeria, they might be Kenya. And you study the economics of the country, the politics of the country, the business opportunity of the country, the stability of the government, every aspect of the country to see whether or not this is a place Africans in America should think about moving back home to. Okay? This is what we're doing. Now, when I was in South Africa, there was brothers and sisters in South Africa who agreed to help on their side with the repatriation in South Africa, because there's a lot of opportunity in South Africa. Okay? And then when I was in Paris 2 weeks ago, the brothers and sisters in Paris, most of them come from the Francophone speaking colonies in Africa. So, Angola, places like that. Senegal. So they agreed that they would help us as well gather information about repatriation feasibility. Because what you have to understand about repatriation in Africa, every country is different. Some countries invite it, some don't. Some countries are very much in need of your help because they're so underdeveloped. Other countries are so developed, they might say, we don't need them blacks from America. You understand? Some governments are stable, some governments can be toppled with a coup tomorrow. So we don't want to send people to the wrong place. Like South Sudan, we can't really send nobody there right now because it's still kind of unstable. The Congo, kind of unstable. You know, but Ghana, Nigeria, South Africa, there's a lot of countries where black people can go to and do really, really well with the right type of support. Everybody can't go to the same place. That's what we need to understand. Even if all 40 million black people said, I want to go back to Africa, there's no one country that can take 40 million of us. You understand? Some go to Ethiopia, some go to South Africa, some go to Ghana, and then we make sure we stay in communication with each other around the continent to make sure each community has what it needs. But that's what we're working on now. And we plan on meeting with the embassies in early 2016. We're going to go to the embassies in DC, Atlanta, and New York City and sit down and talk to them and say, listen, there's black folks who want to go back home. What does the government have to offer? Not in terms of a handout, but an opportunity. Because the one thing is when we go to Africa, we do not go to beg. We don't go looking for a job. We bring the opportunity. You have to, because they automatically look to us as the leaders anyway.
That's right.
You understand? So we have to bring the opportunity. You understand? Which is a good thing because in many African countries, things over here that would not make you wealthy will make you quite wealthy in Africa. Used clothing is $1 million business in Africa. Used clothing. Used cars is a multi-million because they can't afford the new ones. You can't get a 750 SL on African dollar. But they'll take that 2005 Camry you had, you understand? So we got to recognize there's a lot of different opportunities depending on the different countries. So if you're interested in being a part of that, please let me know. And if you know the country that you're interested in studying, please let me know. Because part of this is going to Africa to spend some time so you can learn the country on the ground. I'll be going to Nigeria for my 3rd time next week. You know, so I'm gonna be checking Nigeria out as well. Now, Nigeria is interesting because it's going through a lot of stuff right now. And of course, they got every black person in America spooked against Nigeria with the scams on the internet. You know, you get $100 million every week, you know. But Nigeria is one of the most minerally rich countries in the world. Okay, it's probably only exceeded by the Congo and South Africa, maybe. And the Nigerian is the most unapologetically African on the continent. Of all the Africans on the continent, the Nigerian is the least afraid of the white man. I'm telling you what I saw. In Ghana, they're still kind of humble. South Africa, they revolutionary too though. But Nigeria, they don't give a damn about the white man. So that's why they don't want us to work with the Nigerians. Because the Nigerians, first of all, a lot of us come from there anyway. When you study your ancestry, transatlantic slavery, a lot of us was Yoruba and Igbo, okay? And a lot of us came from Nigeria anyway, so you see where we get our unapologetically energy because that's who they are. So the white man knows that if black America links with black Nigeria, it's a wrap. You know that. And that's why we got to form those Pan-African connections because every nation needs allies. We are a nation within a nation. We are not American. And we need allies, and we don't have no allies. We do not have a diplomatic relationship with a single black country on the planet. Think about that. We do not have a direct line to anybody. Even Robert Mugabe, who's sympathetic to us, but we don't have a direct line to him. We have not done what Garvey did, and that is what? Garvey sent commissioners, dignitaries, to meet with these different heads of state. We need to be sending dignitaries to Zimbabwe, representing us and what it is we're trying to do. Because Zimbabwe is also another place that will be good for repatriation. I was supposed to go there while I was in South Africa, but I couldn't get it done. But I'm gonna go back, and there's some Rasta sisters, some elders. They are in Zimbabwe, and they said there's a lot of opportunity there. So that's what we have to do. We got to put on the suit and tie, and send groups of brothers and sisters to different countries and say, hey, we represent the blacks of America. Okay? Some of us want to come the hell home. Don't get it twisted. Okay? What can we do here? You know? And some African countries are afraid of Pan-Africanism because they recognize the example of Liberia and Sierra Leone. When Africans went back to Africa after slavery, they became the slave masters over their own brothers and sisters back in Africa. So a lot of Africans don't trust you. They say, no, they are white men with black skin. They're no longer Arab. You understand? And I can understand that. They have to take their time and study us. Because the CIA is nothing for them to put 25 agents within our repatriation thing and go to Africa and start a damn civil war. Now we over there fighting African folks. You know what I mean? So they got to be careful with stuff like this because a lot of African countries, especially the small ones, they believe that if you let too many black Americans over here, they're going to buy up the economy, they're going to take over the politics, they're going to put all of us out of office and take over our country, which is feasible. You could do that if you came with a European mind. You could go over there with your money, exchange it in, buy up all the industries like the Chinese are doing right now. You understand? Making inroads into African politics, and before you know it, it's all African Americans running the African countries, carrying out a white agenda. So they have to be careful with us. Which is why I say, like Marcus Garvey said, everybody does not belong, everybody does not need to go back to Africa. Only people got the right mindset, the right conditioning, and the right intention. Because you don't need every black person in America. Could you imagine if the whole Long Beach got on a bus, got on a boat and went there, and you got brothers with white wives, brothers with their boyfriends, sisters with perm and weave, you got video games, basketballs, footballs. You don't need all that in Africa. Africa got enough problems of our own. Only people want to be progressive.
So what would be your system of, like, what would be your standard of measurement or success in order if we, those who...
In terms of sending people over there, I would have to meet with everybody. If they come in under my relationship with African countries, I got to meet with people and fill them out, make sure they write it out. Because let's be honest, we got con artists. We got a lot of con artists in the conscious community, you understand? I wouldn't trust them over in Africa. I wouldn't trust them. A lot of our people over there, they're gullible. They trust us, you understand? And so you got to have the right people interfacing with them, because you can mess up the relationship in a very serious way. And that was a good question. What we up to, 9?
Yes, sir.
Who's my 9? Queen.
I'm 9. Hi, how are you? Well, I'm going to get a little personal. My kid's dad was put in prison in 2011. July 2015, he was murdered by the police.
In prison?
No, on the street.
After he got out?
Well, he was released in July. In August, he was murdered. And our 2 kids, 7 and 10, we have 2 boys. What is your advice as far as raising 2 boys to get them to, well, the epidemic to stop from them not respecting authority and also not continuing what has already happened?
How old are they?
7 and 10.
First thing we got to do is they're going to need grief counseling.
See, and the thing about that is I got a referral to their school about grief counseling. The counselor
referral from the school or referral to the school?
From the school. And we went to grief counseling. They explained what happened. The counselor ended up reporting abuse to CPS.
I just said that, didn't I?
And so now I don't know who to trust.
Oh my God.
Rule number 1, and this is for every parent in here, never get counseling from the school counselor. Never, ever, ever, ever let the school counselor counsel your children. They are masters of family breakup. They help nobody. I wish I would have got to you soon.
Yeah, the police showed up to my door, you know, requesting my kids. Not to mention their dad was killed by the police, so
It's the
kind of a it's kind of a cross between, you know, what do you tell 2 boys about, you know, how do you raise them to not be a the epidemic of what their father was doing, and also to respect authority and not let it cross them in their later years. I mean, how do you, because eventually they're going to trail out in their own, and they're going to be, you know, around their peers, and they may make mistakes. So what do you tell them? What do you teach them? What images do you put in their face to not repeat the same cycle?
Who's the replacement father figure?
Get that light.
Because they're gonna need that.
I mean, they have family, they have uncles and cousins.
Right, but they
and
need,
things like that.
they need a hands-on, one of them uncles, I mean, got to be the father figure, not just around, but invested in active. Because the two biggest things they need right now is the therapy, the grief therapy, because they're grieving the death of their father, and they need that father figure. You know what I mean? So those are the two things that we got to get them. All right.
I mean, as a single mother, like, what do you say? Because it's kind of hard. I don't know. Sometimes I don't know what to say. Sometimes they bring it up. Sometimes they want to know more. I try to refrain as much detailed information as possible, but they were a part of every process. It's interesting.
They need therapy. That's the main thing right now. That's the main thing. Couple things you can do. Because you want them to get if they can get a black male, that'll be strong. Association of Black Psychologists. You can go to their website and see who they have in this area.
Sister, I got you. I got you.
Boom.
I'm
There
running
you
my
go.
job. I'll be right back.
That's really the brother right there. He's a school psychologist.
Nice.
I'll be right back. All right. Wow.
Dr. Nesby.
Yes.
And you can also contact myself. I'm Brother Ali. I'm from the New Black Panther Party of Self-Defense. I'm the Western Regional Rep. And we are establishing, we're going to start kicking off in January because it's a money issue. Something called 5 to 15. Where brothers like myself, my chief of staff, we're going to be coming out to visit your boys. If they're out of control, we're going to come by and visit. Just, I mean with the most of love. You know what I mean? I'm with that foolishness. And a lot of times that's what it is. For myself and brother, and I'm recruiting other brothers that want to come on, and we make it a point as black men. If single mothers like sister or sister call and says she can't really reach him in a certain way, what is it? You know what I mean? Hitting that age, about puberty, like Doc says, well, come by, because we all went through that. You know what I'm saying? You know, so, and we are going into that place, and it's called 5 to 15. Because before they start driving, and right at 5, when they start to really understand who they are, if they have that black man there, and I'm talking about a conscious black man, that loves that black woman, you know what I'm trying to say.
Make it plain.
So I'm going to pass out cards.
Yes.
Please stay in touch with me. I have my Gmail and my number. And like I said, January 1st, we're going to kick this off.
Yes.
Black power.
Yes. All right.
Thank you, Doc. I apologize.
No problem. Who's my 10?
Who's going to have to be the last one?
Who's that 10?
Was there an 11?
Yeah, there was a 10
I
and
wasn't on
11.
the list, but I have a question or.
I'm gonna give you the 10. And who is my 11?
All right, let's do that. That's good.
Okay, so I'm also gonna get a little personal. I am the mother of a 4-year-old, and he is just starting pre-K, and I don't know if anybody else is aware, California just passed legislation to start transitional kindergarten. So this is the first year where the state is providing funding for transitional age kindergartens or preschoolers, age 4, and they're in an environment, he's in LA Unified School District, where they're in school Monday through Friday, 6 hours a day. My son is very, very active. I don't have any concerns of ADHD, but he is all boy. He's big for his height. And he's in a school that's not primarily black. It's a mixed school, but his behavior is, I'm gonna be frank, out off the hood. He's very active. He rides a gas motorbike with no training wheels or anything. So we are having issues with behavior, and I feel like he's in a setting right now that's too much for him, and the academics are there, But I'm just afraid that I need to advocate for him because I'm afraid that he may be, just referred to, the special side of the program or special education when he's one of the only boys in the class that can write his first and his last name.
All right.
He's like, he knows all his colors. He's actually being taught stuff that he learned at 3 years old. I've got my master's in social work, so I'm a hands-on parent, and he has a father in the home. So how do parents get educated to be advocates for their kids? I can't afford to send them to the best private schools in the world, so I have to resort to public education. So I want to know, where do we go to be the best advocates for our boys?
Yes.
Good question. A couple things. One, you're going to read my book, Psychoacademic Holocaust, Special Education and ADHD War Against Black Boys, because most of the information in there is legal information. And I got a frequently asked questions section that will basically walk you through most of the challenges that you have. They do have copies for sale here. If there's not enough, I will have copies tomorrow when I speak at the Black Consciousness Conference. I speak at 5 o'clock. So I have them there, as well as a lot of my DVDs. The other thing, with this parent association, that's one of the things that we want to be doing. With the Parent Advocacy Committee, it's going to be about providing our parents with the information and knowledge they need to advocate effectively for their child. The other thing, every Tuesday morning from 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I know that's pretty early for you guys, because that's 3 to 5 a.m. your time.
Right.
But I host a free Black Parent teleconference call. It's free. You can call in for 2 hours and ask me any question that you want about anything. So if you're ever in a bind and you don't know how to move, you can just call in. And if it's a quick question, you can text me. Like I get parents who text me all during the day. What do you think about this? And if it's something I can respond to quickly, I will. You can email it, but you always have me, if you have a question about something that's going on. Here's the thing to understand. The problem with the black boy in school is not the black boy, it's the system in which he's in.
That's correct.
Schools are dominated by female energy. And not just female energy, white racist female energy.
Because she calls my son a bully, and I'm like, no, he's not a bully. He's a leader. He has that leadership personality. He's going to tell you, come follow me. She thinks that's bullying, and it's not really bullying, it's leadership.
Remember, from the white perspective, they want every black boy to be docile.
Yes.
They're not docile. And treat them like the gods that they want to be, then they have a problem with you, you see. But the issue is that the black boy is twice discriminated against. He's discriminated against for being male, and then he's discriminated against again for being black. So there's a double discrimination taking place, you understand? He is not the problem. He's not the problem. The problem is the system and the white teachers that they hire. I tell them all the time, school districts bring me around the country to solve a black boy problem. And my thing is, why you keep bringing me here every year to try to legitimize you? Because you know what the solution is. Give these black boys strong black male teachers, and you eliminate half the problems that they have. But they're not going to do that because, number one, the public school system must fail. Remember, education is the most revolutionary thing you can do if you do it right. If you properly educate a black boy, you set him up as a rival against the white boy for the political economic dominance of this society. True education revolutionizes the society. It teaches the oppressed how to become the oppressor. You understand? So they must make sure the school fails. And the only way to make sure the school fails is to keep white women in charge of it. If you put black people in charge of black education, you don't know what the hell is going on. That's one of the reasons why they desegregated. Because the white man saw that all those inventions that black people were coming up with, we were coming up without being in a desegregated school. Most of the black inventions came out of segregated schools. So white folks said, wait a minute, they don't even get the same quality of education. How they coming up with gas masks and all this other stuff? So they said, we're going to have to integrate that so we can control what they're being taught. We thought school deseg was a victory. It was a failure. It was a failure. And when they integrated the school, they only integrated the learner. They did not integrate the teachers. So when the black kids went from the neighborhood school to the white school, the black teachers did not go with them. They integrated them with white teachers and white pupils, so they was traumatized. And that began the laying off of all those black teachers. They never integrated the teachers, they only integrated the students. And when you read the opinions from the Supreme Court justices in the 1954 Brown versus Board of Education decision, one of the justices wrote, and I have this, it's a rare publication on the 54th decision, one of the justices wrote that he did not agree with deseg because he wanted to integrate black kids with white kids. He said the reason he voted for school desegregation was because he believed the government could more effectively carry out their agenda against black children with them being in the white school as opposed to being separated in the black school. It was not a victory, it was a failure. Last one, Queen.
I guess I'm gonna get personal like
Sure.
everyone else did. I've heard all the homosexual stuff, and I identify as a black lesbian. I think it was a choice for me because I can't speak for every black lesbian, but it was a choice for me because I'm disappointed, disgusted by the black man. So therefore, I don't want to give up having a relationship, but I don't want to have a relationship with him because at the end of the day, I'm told I'm ugly, I'm not good enough. I'm left with a kid now that I have to raise by myself. So do I want to get in a relationship with someone else where now I'm a black woman with 5 different children by 5 different baby fathers? Because that's just the reality for a lot of black women. So I'm not going to speak for everyone, but for me it was a choice because I don't want to procreate with black men because I don't want to have anything to do with majority of them.
But do you hear that hatred? You follow me? And and I appreciate you for self-disclosing like that, but it's that hatred that fuels that lifestyle. And I'm sorry that you've been through some of that with black men, but every black man ain't like that. And the one thing that I need you to understand is like I need some brothers who are homosexual and would give me the same argument for why they get it. I'm tired of black women. That's kind of the thing. Not only is not every black woman like that, and in your case every black man, but from an African spiritual perspective, we can never be the best of who we are without our other half. In African culture, we believe that when God created the world, he deliberately created us dependent on the need for that opposite energy, because God is complete with the masculine and the feminine, right? But we were made predominant one or the other. And in order to balance out that other half, you need that other person. So I'm masculine, I need that feminine side to be balanced. And the feminine side needs the masculine side to be balanced. So you'll never quite be able to self-actualize your God self until you find your king. And he's there. You just got to be patient and to find him. But in order to see him when he comes, you have to tear all the illusions away from you. These unhealthy beliefs about what black men are. Those may have been your experiences with those black men, but every black man ain't like that. And you have to change your core belief, because if you don't, you'll never bring black men into your life who are not like those past experiences. You will continue to pull them in until you accept that everybody's not like that. But in order for you to be the queen that your ancestors need you to be and God wants you to be, you got to get your other half. We're not complete without it. Because we believe when God created the universe, he created that balance. For every yin, there's a yang. For every male, there's a female. For every plus, there's a minus. Every atom in existence comes with a positive charge and a negative charge, a female and a masculine. Everything in existence has the balance, and we have to have it too. See, so you're going to have to work through a lot of that. You understand? Forgive those people who hurt you and take a chance. Because here's the thing about love. Nobody wants to take a chance getting hurt. But unless you take that chance, you don't get love either. So it's a double-edged sword. But you got to become totally vulnerable. That's the price that you pay for true love. To be willing to risk getting hurt. Here's the thing. Make sure your risks are calculated. Don't be giving your heart to any old mojo. No, you calculate your risk. You make sure that this person is worthy of me opening my heart up to them again. But you owe that to yourself. You owe that to yourself.